My career in the entertainment industry has enabled me to work with a diverse range of talent. Through my years of experience, I've recognized two essential aspects. Industry professionals, whether famous stars or behind-the-scenes staff, have fascinating stories to tell. Secondly, audiences are eager to listen to these stories, which offer a glimpse into their lives and the evolution of their life stories. This podcast aims to share these narratives, providing information on how they evolved into their chosen career. We will delve into their journey to stardom, discuss their struggles and successes, and hear from people who helped them achieve their goals. Get ready for intriguing behind-the-scenes stories and insights into the fascinating world of entertainment. Hi, I'm Tony Mantor. Welcome to Almost Live Nashville. Joining us today is Johnny from Hardwick Circus, a six-piece rock and roll band from Carlisle, England. They have performed over 700 shows, ranging from pubs to supporting legends like Bob Dylan. Their transformative Songs of Freedom tour in June 2025 made them the first UK band to perform in Ukraine since the invasion. We will explore their origins, their performances, their tour, their new album release, and their plans for the future. It's an absolute pleasure to cover all this and even more with him. So before we dive into our episode, we'll be right back with an uninterrupted show right after a word from our sponsors. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks. No, great to meet you. All for it.
Yes, great to have you on.
Where are you in the world, Tony?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Brilliant. Well, I'm in the south of France, on a hillside, but stuck in a basement working on a recording. So this is a very welcome break from loud drums.
Yes, I completely understand. I've had many long days and long nights in the studio recording for sure.
That's it.
Well, that's great. So now that you're on break, let's get a little conversation in here. I think the band's been together for about, 10 years?
Well, we were kind of out the womb doing this, really. Me and my brother Tom, the drummer. We've played together ever since we were kids. We were always them guys on the street making a racket in the attic. Ever since our school days, that's all we've ever kind of set our minds on doing. Learning songs, learning our instruments, how to write a good song and perform with a band. So yeah, we've been going for a while. We're an evolving project, and we've just done a tour of Ukraine, the first band to tour Ukraine since the full-scale invasion. And that was with a band of musicians we'd never played with before. And that was an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's great. We'll get into that very soon. Where did this whole journey start?
We're from Carlisle, and Carlisle's in the north of England. And it's a very sheltered place. It's very out the way. And, if you came all the way from Nashville to England, I bet your bottom dollar that, Carlisle might be the last place that you decide to put a pin in the map. It's very northern, but that's been our home, and we've always done the band out of there and traveled around the world from that point. So yeah, we've been at it a while, but to us it feels, fresh and original every day.
I love that attitude. How many people are in the band along with you and your brother?
So there's 6 band members. So there's myself and Tom. I sing and play guitar and write, and Tom drums and sings and also writes. Got a bass player, a guitar player, saxophonist, and a keyboard player.
That's a great lineup of musicians. So the band consists of you and your brother. What was the lineup of musicians that toured with you in Ukraine?
So on the Ukraine band, we had Ben Wild on the bass guitar, and he's played with us for a long time. Over the years, he was in the original kind of lineup of the group. And we were in the Czech Republic playing a 2-week tour. So we played all over the Czech, and that was a fantastic experience. And then on the way to Ukraine, 2 of our original band members, Gavin on the bass and Freddie on the keyboards, their mothers weren't very happy with me taking their sons off to Ukraine to play some shows. So they flew back to England, and we recruited Ben again. He came back into the fold, and he played the bass guitar. We had Joe Carrasco on the guitar, all the way from Texas. And I'm actually sat in his French residency as we speak in his kitchen doing this interview.
Nice.
We had Roman Korchevsky from Kyiv. He was our saxophone player. And we had Connor Morrissey, all the way from Melbourne, Australia, join us on the keyboards. And we met these guys on the way to Ukraine. So myself and my manager, Dave, we were driving the old rusty van towards the Ukraine border, calling up as many musicians as we could get our hands on to try and get a group together to make this tour possible. And all of a sudden we were in Lviv on the night of the first show, playing with this new group of people for the first time.
It's always great playing with new people. How did it go?
It was the most phenomenal experience of my life. It was the best tour I've ever been on for a lot of reasons.
That sounds just so good. Can you expand on your thoughts of why this is the best tour you've ever had?
The ambition was to go there and to take music to where we felt it mattered most, not to forget that, even though this is a war-torn country and people are going through hell and back, they're still trying to carry on with their lives. And that means, not forgetting, what they enjoy in life. That means, remembering that people want to, get up in the morning and take their kids to school, go to work, feel like they can enjoy things like music and dancing and have that element of positivity at the front of their minds. And so that was our original goal, alongside raising some money to buy a casual emergency vehicle so that we could kit it out and take it right to the front line, as well as to remind other groups from all over the world that, music has no border, and we were kind of the guinea pigs. It wasn't about us, it was about showing that it can be done and that other bands should go and do it if at all possible.
During your travels going to Ukraine, number one, what was going through your mind? What was your thoughts? And number two, what was the response that you got from being there?
Well, the group of people that was in the van with us, the whole band, the whole team was so fantastic. Everyone was there for the right reason. A van full of music fanatics, people there wanting to, learn the music and to see how it resonates, and to make people dance and give them a feeling of positivity. So we were all surrounded by that, and that was our kind of, without being flippant about it, that was our kind of shield in a way. We thought, we're here because we want to do this. We're here for the right reason, with other people who are here for the right reason. So the element of danger and fear kind of went out the van window, and that allowed us to carry on through the 10 days of being in Ukraine.
That makes total sense. Now, where did you go in Ukraine? And did you see a different response in each different city, or was it all about the same?
Well, we went all over. So we started in Lviv, and then we made our way to Ternopil and Vinnytsia, and then up to Kyiv, then across to Kharkiv, which is 20 kilometers from the Russian border, and then nearby there, we also played at a rehabilitation center for soldiers that had been serving in the Ukrainian army for over 10 years, some of them, ever since the invasion of Crimea in 2014. And then we also went to Dnipro and played a second show in Kyiv on the way home. And the response was amazing. This is a country that, traditionally, I suppose, there's a lot of heavy metal there. And so they were met with these kind of pale-faced ginger guys playing indie rock pop music. The response was phenomenal. I mean, you have to bear in mind that a lot of the men were either on the front line, serving in the army, and that meant that in a lot of the towns that it was full of women. These were the women that were holding it up back home. And, we say that in all the places we went to, everything functioned perfectly. It's a real A-grade country, everything from the travel, the public services, everything was clean. The garages were working way better than they would in England. And it was all run by the women. And we were playing to rooms full of women whose partners were either serving on the front line, and the response was amazing.
Okay, so with all of this happening, what did you find the mindset to be, the outlook? How were they surviving and getting along with people like yourself coming in to do what you do? What was their overall feeling about what was going on?
When we left England, English people have a kind of snobbishness about them, and they think, oh, you're going to go to a war-torn country, good luck with that, But when we got to Ukraine, there was a lust for life. Everyone was so positive, and they had a get-go attitude that, would put a lot of other places in the West to shame. And these are people that have drones flying over their head every night. They're sleep deprived. If you wrote this down, you couldn't make sense how they have such a positive attitude and a willingness to carry on and to see tomorrow through. And so it's very easy to look at the television and to see all the news reports and to see all the damage and the disaster, which there is. But until you get there and until you experience it and until you see the community and the willingness to carry on, no matter how hard it gets, it's very hard to describe that feeling and what we witnessed.
Well, that's really good to hear that there is a positive vibe over there, because it seems what we see and what their reality is completely different. So it's good to hear that they're positive.
Yeah, it is very different. And, I think you have to experience the place first and you have to meet the people that are living there, meet the people that, yes, are serving on the front line at the rehabilitation center, but also the people in the cities that are trying to carry on and bring their kids up. And that's how you get a real flavor for what a place is about.
Yeah, that is so true. Different perspective from being there and seeing it. Now, I understand that you've recorded an album, and either the album or a single, you can tell me which one, is actually raising money to help those in Ukraine.
Yeah, so we've recorded a live album from Kyiv because that was the whole purpose of the trip. It was to bring music. We're musicians and it's about doing what you can in whatever area you can. So we recorded a live album in Kyiv at a place called Mezzanine, and it's going to be called 1 Hour Ahead of the Posse. And all the proceeds go towards the Ukraine front. And we're in the process of finishing the mixing at the moment. So we hope to have that out very soon. That'll be on our website and all across our socials.
That's great. I think that's a good thing that you're doing. How did you find the atmosphere for the recordings, and how did that work out for you?
Well, it's incredibly exciting listening to the recordings because you can sense the atmosphere in the room. There's an excitement about the shows. There's an excitement coming from the people singing and dancing, having never heard our music before. There's an intensity there that you couldn't get anywhere else in the world. And that is mirrored through the playing. It's fast-paced, it's intense, it's, a real rock and roll live album.
So you did the recording on tour. Now, was this a 10-day tour, 12-day tour? How long was this tour last for you?
Yeah, so it was 8 gigs in 9 days of traveling, and we were there.
Yeah, that's great. So how did you find the traveling from club to club and town to town?
So we traveled in a Renault Master van, and we traveled as the band and our manager Dave, and we also went along with a guy called Adrian Simpson who runs a charity called Mission Aid for Ukraine, and they do brilliant work raising money for vehicles and other emergency supplies, taking them to the front line. And so he kind of pointed us in the right direction, and just like we did anywhere else, we got in the van and aimed for the gig.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say. You just point in a direction and go. Of course, you're in a different situation where you're at. Did you have any issues getting from point to point once they pointed you in the right direction?
No, there was, like I say, the response was such that we were welcome. The hospitality was A grade, and getting in the country, they appreciated that we were musicians trying to play some shows to raise some money. Getting out of the country, Poland didn't want us back. So we got stuck. We were kind of stateless for about 15 hours. And that was the kind of the most difficult experience we had of the whole trip. Of course, overnight when we were staying in hotels or in the bunkers, there was drones overhead, There was warnings going off on your phone. But our whole vision of it was that we're here, we chose to go here, we're going to follow the protocol of the Ukrainian people around us. And of course, we traveled with a band called the Kyiv from Kharkiv, and they've been right in the middle of it since the full-scale invasion. So we weren't going to be them British guys that thought we were more important than anybody else and hide away and worry about it. We chose to go there, and we followed their lead.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I've got to congratulate you for what you did. Now, you said you were stateless for a bit. What happened there and how did it get resolved?
Oh, it's typical kind of, European English bureaucracy, papers not being filled in correctly or something like that. And so they had a bone to pick with us. But since we've been to Ukraine, in one of the gigs, Turnipple and Venetia actually, we spoke to the promoters and they've told us that there's been bands from Japan, bands from the USA, Germany, wanting to go over there and play. So, if we're here to help make that happen.
It seems like your tour paved the way for others to follow in your footsteps, which is awesome, inspiring others to come and replicate your success. That's a huge impact that you made.
Well, it seems so. And that, as I say, that was our ambition. It's not about us. It's about Ukraine.
Yeah, that's great. Great attitude to have. So what's next? You've done the tour. You've recorded an album. What's next on your plate?
So we've just released our new single, Hollow, in line with our Ukraine trip. And the chorus line goes, who am I going to lead? Who am I going to follow? Will it ring true or will it ring hollow? And this is the first single off our upcoming third studio album. We're really excited by it. It was produced by Alan Winstanley of Elvis Costello, Madness, Dexys, alongside John McPhee from the Doobie Brothers. So it's kind of got a worldwide colour to it. And we've just released that. We're also planning our second trip back to Ukraine in October. So we'll be playing in some of the same places again, as well as some new places. And we're also looking at some other gigs in the UK, as well as getting back into Europe very soon.
So when you first decided that you was going to do the Ukraine tour, everyone was a little concerned about it. Now that you've done your tour, you're getting out there telling your story. What has been the response from those that were concerned and had some questions on whether you should have done this or not? How's the feedback been?
Well, I think, they say, well, we're pleased you made it back, Have you given your mother a hug? And I say, well, yes, I have. But it's somewhat frustrating because we live in a safe place. We're not under any sort of threat. And we were traveling with a bunch of really, beautiful girls who were playing their own music, and they're dealing with this stuff every day. So we came back thinking the world's everything else seems very frivolous in comparison. And the idea that people are moaning about our safety or for their own worries, we find that somewhat unattractive.
Yes, I get it. It also brings my next question, and that is, now that you've been over there, you've seen it firsthand, it's reality. You've come back. You look at everything around you, no matter where you are, whether it's Europe or the UK. How has it changed the way you perceive things now?
Well, it confirmed life. It was a life-affirming trip, It gives you a sense of perspective on what you are doing and what's important. And for us, that's playing music and being able to play it where we can and when we want to. And we were lucky that everyone was so receptive over there. And, like you were saying, what people asking? Well, they're saying, we're pleased you've done that. You're not going back, are you? And we're saying, yes, we are.
So what are their thoughts now that you've mentioned you want to go back? Because that probably puts them right back to where they were when they first started, is that they're concerned about your trip again.
Yes, it can be dangerous and people have a right to be concerned, but that doesn't mean it's not important,
Absolutely.
The world would be a very stale place if, you did everything based on how secure it is. Who wants that,
Yes, you have to live your life, do what you think is important, and that's all that matters. Have you had people reach out to you? Social media is all over the world now. Have you gained new fans? Have you had people reach out to you to tell you their stories and connect?
Absolutely. Well, there was a guy called Johan who was serving in the Ukrainian Marines, and he was captured by Russia 2.5 years ago, and he endured 2.5 years worth of torture. And the torture was ruthless. It was lasering off the Ukrainian trident tattoo. Every day they were put in a different room that was labeled head, arm, legs, torso, feet. And depending on what room they went into, that's where they were beaten up on that day. And he described this in a video to us. And at the end of it, he just came out of Russian captivity. And he said, he'd go back to the front line in a heartbeat because it's about his family and it's about supporting Ukraine. And it's also a reminder to us, that they're actually supporting us. They're defending us. And it's our war as much as theirs.
Yes, that's very powerful. It started negative, but it turned out to be very positive. So have you had anyone that's reached out to you about your music and how you're using your music to help others? So have you had a lot of fans reach out to you looking forward to you coming back? What have you had for response on that topic?
No, it really shocked us how brilliant that response was. There's a group there called Schmolgazen, and they're quite a big band in Ukraine. And we met their singer, Vlad, and Eugene, the bass player. And, we're very friendly with them now. So, yes, there's fans, but there's also friends. There's people, that we'll know for life. And we've got to know even more since coming back to the UK.
Yeah, that's just been so great that you've been able to meet and become friends with so many different people. That just shows you the power of music. It not only can create great memories, but in your case, it's creating new fans, new friends, and you're really making a difference in people's lives. Because of that, you're seeing it and they're responding to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in England, we played in prisons. So we did a 15-day prison tour, and it was a very similar effect. These are songs that we usually play in clubs or pubs or theatres or festivals or with other bands in O2 kind of venues. And suddenly we're in a prison where, these guys are incarcerated for 23 hours a day. And all of a sudden, we're there playing this indie rock music. For them, it was a great experience. But for us, it was interesting because the songs we did differently, the music sounded different, the lyrics developed a new meaning. And there was one song that we'd play in every prison called Let's Make New Mistakes, which, of course, for a bunch of inmates, they enjoyed that one especially.
That's amazing. You just brought up another topic that I was going to ask you about. When you write a song, you have a certain mindset behind it, a certain theme, so to speak. Then you record it. It can take on a new life in the studio, become something you didn't expect. Then you perform it live in front of people, pubs, concerts. It can take a different perception there. You get the response from the people. It feels good, all the energy that's coming from it. But then you perform it in front of people in the prison or people in Ukraine, and it will take a completely different meaning there as well. So did you find that happening a lot between the prisons and Ukraine?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we sing a song called The Ballad of the Gypsy King, which is all about the boxer Tyson Fury. But, going to Ukraine, we changed this song and made it about Alexander Usyk, who absolutely annihilated Tyson Fury in a boxing match recently. And of course, his story is incredible. And, all of a sudden, all of our Ukrainian fans and people in the crowd were joining in with us and resonated to this song because it's a song about their life, in essence. And so, there was great moments like that.
Yeah, again, that's just the power of music. Now, what would you like to tell our listeners that you think is very important that they know about what you're doing and what you're trying to do?
Well, we're a band that's trying to write good songs and play live and play where it matters most. In England, it's very hard, unless you have an agent or you're signed to a big record company, to be able to play consistently in a lot of venues. That's what we're all about, playing live and being positive about the music we play. There's a lot of kind of downbeat stuff out there and playing it cool, and that's not really our attitude. We want to get out there whenever we can, and if that means Ukraine and if that means Europe or England, in whatever venue, be it a prison or a venue, we'll be there. So that's kind of our attitude, It's the art is making it. That's kind of our ethos.
I love it. That's what it's all about. Playing music wherever you can, build an audience, and then let the music speak for itself. That's the way to do it. I think you have the right attitude for sure. Now, did you get something from the government or work with the government in some way?
Well, that's right. So it was to do a tour like that in England, it's obviously quite a costly enterprise. So the Arts Council were very helpful. We discussed it with them and they helped us organize it and backed us to do the tour because we weren't getting paid to play in these prisons. There was no payment. It was us going there and having a connection with the inmates and, they're people as well. Everyone deserves live music.
Yes, they do. I just love your attitude, the way that you're doing things. Very positive, very influential, very impactful. Now, how do people find you? Can you give us your website so they can follow you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, just make sure get on our website, hardwickcircus.tv. And from there, you can splinter off to all of our other socials and onto our Spotify to listen to Hollow, the new single.
Well, this has been great. Great information, great conversation. Thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been a Tony Mantor production. For more information, contact media@plateaumusic.com.